What's up, guys? Chris with CNC for Newbies here. Just wanted to go live and showcase um, a little overlooked thing um, by many guys um, that really should be paid attention to whenever you're setting up your shop. So, um, with what I do, a lot of people know I like to prototype stuff. I like to do stuff, and size is at a minimum. The space. Uh, so I run into a situation where, like right now, I've got the impact engraver, I've got an automatic tool changer, I've got an aluminum nozzle, uh, an air nozzle, and I've got um, uh, clean off air. And all of that has to come from an air supply. So that air supply typically in my old shop would have been that big, huge air compressor that I have. But now it's actually a small little air compressor, a little pancake air compressor. Um, that works for small stuff that doesn't need a lot of air, um, or that doesn't need the volume of air. But one of the things that we've been working on with my machine is a plasma head attachment. You guys know I love my plasmas and everything like that. And that prompted me to go out, and I'll go to the outside here and purchase a new um, air compressor. Okay. Um, and I purchased that air compressor with the intent of not having to buy another one or add an auxiliary tank. So what I bought, let me switch around here. So this is what I bought. It's wrapped up right now because Florida, you never know when you're going to get a rainstorm or anything like that. But it is a Craftsman 80-gallon, two-stage, 7 horsepower air compressor. I'm going to build a little alcove over here for some other machinery and stuff. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was the actual air needs. Okay, you guys that are upgrading your machines, I don't care what machines it is, if it's a Fox Alien, if it's a CNC for Newbies, if it's an X-Carve, Shapeoko, Millwright, whatever, you're going to be needing some type of air at some time. Okay, you have to size your air compressor in accordance with what volume, what speed, and what pressure you're going to be using. So, for example, the B&R spindle kit here does not have the air jacket, but B&R is going to be helping with the ATC spindle that I'm prototyping with, and that needs an air system. The air system on that can run off of a little pancake air compressor. Not a big deal. But the pancake air compressor cannot run the ATC spindle, and if I'm cutting aluminum, the air, because it's basically an air bleed the whole time. Okay, so I have to size my air compressor in order to have enough volume, enough speed, and enough runtime that I don't run out of air, because that could be catastrophic during the middle of a carve. Likewise, if I put a plasma head on, then I need to have enough volume. So I need to be able to push about enough volume to go through a 1/2 inch line And I need to make sure that the air compressor can stay up with that volume, because it's not necessarily it's not necessarily the air pressure for plasma, it's the air volume, okay, along with pressure. And once again, these are superficial talks, guys. If you want to get into a lot of it, that's a private message situation. But you have to make sure that you're sizing components for your shop to what your shop needs are. A little 6-gallon pancake air compressor may work for clean off air, maybe like a misting unit for short runs. But that pancake air compressor is going to get so hot and so worn out so quick because it's not the right tool for the job. Likewise, you got air assist on the laser systems. You need a very low volume, low pressure air for that. So you could actually use a centrifugal compressor for like a fish tank. It's a little bit better than a fish tank air compressor, but you could do that to blow the smoke away from the diodes that mount on these machines. So as you're going through and you start seeing these different things, try and size components for what your needs are at the moment and what you think they might be. I'm not saying buy the end all be all right away, but get something that's going to work for you and give you a little bit of breathing room so that you can recoup costs or build costs if needed. Okay. So for my stuff, electricity is also at a minimum. So I have to kind of size what I'm doing, because the houses in Florida have electric hot water heaters and large BTU AC units. Okay. So if you have all that stuff, you now look at it and you go, okay, I'm already using, I have 200 amp service, but I'm already using 100 amps right off the top. And on top of it, that AC runs pretty much all day, every day. The hot water heater is on demand. So anytime you turn on the water and there's a demand for it, it drains electricity. Is that electricity going to drain so much that it affects the ability for any of the components that you put on your machine to actually function? There are situations where electricity can really be a hindrance. I just had a customer buy a B&R spindle kit, and they assured me that everything was hooked up correctly. They've checked it and everything, but they didn't. And this is their VFD board. As you can see, the bridge rectifier, the MOSFET, and the capacitor board all burnt. That's one of those things that the same thing can happen to your control boards or your VFD boards if you don't have the appropriate electricity to it, or if you get backfed electricity. So all of these things, when you're putting together your shop, you're putting together your machines, you're looking at the different options, you really have to consult with professionals or do your research, and you have to be on point with this stuff. Okay. So look at some of the calculators out there on Google to look at, needed air supplies for your misting unit. I use my misting unit as an air unit, and And that uses a lot of air, which in turn is going to kick on the air compressor, which in turn is going to drain a lot of electricity, which in turn affects the control box, you know? So you size everything up to the way that you do things. I mean, if I'm just cutting wood, I'm probably going to plug in a shop vac every once in a while, come out and suck up the dust. I'm not like a lot of the guys that have uh, covered units. I typically will come out and look at the stuff that I'm cutting while it's cutting. I want to be able to see it and everything like that. And I'm not in a production facility per se, so I'm not really worried about keeping dust to a minimum uh, as much as a lot of people are. Um, so as you're doing this stuff, the crux of the episode is make sure you're sizing stuff correctly. All right. I may keep my 6-gallon pancake compressor for miscellaneous stuff like the air nozzle on my drill press. I'm not going to be drilling hours and hours and hours on that thing. I'm going to drill. I'm going to need a little bit of air to clean out the chips and call it good. Okay, I'll use that. But for my big machine, my 4x8, it's going to have an ATC. It's got the ATC air solenoids. It's got the spindle air solenoids. It's got the air nozzle for when I cut aluminum. It's got cleanup air and stuff like that. So all of that stuff, I consult with Billy over at B&R Spindles to say, hey, what is your recommendation on air compressor size, for your product? Doing the cleanup air, I know that can run on pretty much anything. So you just educate yourself on what you're buying, when you're buying it, and how you're buying it. You know, I know there are a couple guys that I've watched that, they've educated me on how to utilize credit card rewards to actually make money to buy other machine parts, because of their reward system is such that, they basically give you a large sum back on certain things. So like when I'm buying gas, I'll utilize those rewards points to help push a bigger air compressor to help the purchase. That's really one of those things that it doesn't just go with the air compressor. Obviously, we delve into a lot of different stuff when it comes to your guys' machines. Don't short sell yourself unless you have to make do and you just have to make it happen. I've told you guys before, I'll make my business happen by any means necessary, as much as I can. If it takes me doing 100-hour work week, I'll do 100-hour work week. I want to see everything succeed the way that it does in my thoughts. But there's also a point of diminishing returns if you're buying a 2-stage 7 horsepower 80-gallon compressor and you need a 21-gallon single stage, little roll around compressor. Don't buy the big one unless you just want it for expansion. But don't say, oh, I have to have this and I can't do this until I have that. Make the best out of your situation. Okay. If it's something you have to have, find a way to get it. Okay. Talk to the people on your social medias that are professionals and get their objective and subjective responses, and classify it as such. That way you can build something that will last you a long time with the least amount of trouble. Um, but I just wanted to kind of go into that. Some people were asking me about like what compressors I use and stuff like that. I use, I used an Ingersoll Rand and a Iron Force uh, compressor, ran in tandem for my powder coating, plasma cutting, and CNC router setup. I've used 6-gallon pancake air compressors on the X Carve. Um, I damn near burnt the thing up, you know. Um, so just as you start doing stuff, take a look at that, understand where you're at, where you want to go, and what your needs are, and try to accommodate that. That's the best of it. Um, and other than that, with that being said, I'm gonna let you guys get back to work. At this point, I'm just rambling. So I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll holler at you later. Peace.